Welcome to the UTS Student Insight Series. We are delighted to present this new series during National Science Week and hope to inspire you towards a career in science and maths. My name is Caitlin, and today I will take you through my journey to becoming a master's student in Medical Biotechnology, and I'll be taking your questions at the end. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during today's webinar, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel, and I will do my best to answer the questions at the end. If you like a question that someone else has asked and would like it answered, please use the upvoting tool, which is a little thumbs up symbol next to the question itself. Being an online event, we do bear with us if there are any technical issues. We will work to resolve them quickly. If you find you're not able to access the talk at any point, please log out and log back in again, as that usually resolves such issues. This session will be recorded, but we will not be recording any video or audio input from the audience. You may contact UTS at science.future@uts.edu.au to discuss any concerns or questions that you may have. So my pathway to university started during my high school years. To give a little bit of background about myself, I was born in Sydney. I grew up on the Central Coast, and then I went to high school in Newcastle. So it's a bit full circle that I'm back in Sydney for university. I went to the Hunter School of the Performing Arts High School from years 7 till 12, which is a selective performing arts school. I was a dance student and danced for 15 years, but I always saw it as more of a hobby than a viable career for me. After school, I found that I fell out of love with dance. And during the HSC, I decided to take a variety of different subjects. I did general maths, standard English, biology, hospitality, and dance. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after school, and so I just chose what I enjoyed at the time. I only really thought about my ATAR until much later. I ended up with an ATAR of 78.65, and I was top 5 in my school for biology and hospitality. And luckily enough, this was a high enough ATAR for what I wanted to get into in university. So the first thing I considered when applying to university was, where do I want to study? I think a lot of people expected me to choose somewhere that was a lot closer to home, like in Newcastle, but after I took an excursion to UTS in year 12, when we were doing HSC English workshops, I knew that this was the place for me. The location was a big deciding factor for me, as it's right at the center of the city and there's so many opportunities down in Sydney. It's also a young university, only 33 years old, giving it that modern edge. Another thing that UTS is big about is interdisciplinary work, and that is through their flexibility to explore other faculties in your elective subjects. And finally, the facilities at UTS are of research quality and built for collaboration, which really appealed to me. And of course, the Super Lab just looks amazing. So why did I choose biotechnology in my undergraduate degree? So I chose to study the Bachelor of Biotechnology, as I had an interest in biology and I came top 5 in my school for HSC biology. Biotechnology to me was a new and exciting field that I'd never heard of. And for anyone who doesn't know, a broad definition of biotechnology is the utilization of biological systems and living organisms to develop or create different products. So this biotechnology term encompasses a lot, and the main 3 subdisciplines of that are medical, food, and environmental. So examples of these include things such as vaccine development, drug delivery systems, developing strategies to improve food production and cut down on pesticide usage. It also includes the sustainable production of products and, of course, renewable energy sources. So when I did my bachelor's, I didn't have any specified major, and instead I took subjects in all of these areas, but I found myself leaning more towards the medical side of things. So one of the major highlights in both my undergrad and postgrad science has been the lab work opportunities. So all or most of my subjects have had a practical element to them. And during the first year of my degree, I had a lot of classes in the super lab, which was really, really cool. And that gave me a hands-on experience with transferable skills that you can take into work outside of university. So as you can see on the slide, there are some images of cells that I stained myself during classes. So the first one to the left is human blood cells. The second one is a picture of E. coli. And the last one is just a few yeast cells. So another major highlight of my undergrad degree was the summer semesters. So I took 3 subjects during summer semesters, and these were hematology, pharmacology, and summer studio. So this allowed me to take 3 subjects during the main semesters when I was living out of home and had to work to support myself. So hematology and pharmacology were both run over 2 weeks, 5 days a week, and they had the lectures in the morning and then the practicals in the afternoon. So this was a really interesting, intensive experience and helped me to learn and retain information within a short period of time. Another highlight, of course, is the summer studio, which is actually a part of the engineering faculty. And this was a design challenge that was run over 6 weeks in a team of 8 students. And we were tasked with improving the design and efficiency of an open source PCR machine. So a PCR machine makes copies of DNA that can be used in further lab work. And so this challenge, we used design thinking, which is an engineering concept. And I also learned different skills like how to use a laser cutter and a 3D printer, which I never thought I would come into contact in my whole life, which was really awesome to see. And I would definitely highly recommend taking electives in other faculties, as you get exposed to such a range of skills that you can then take bits and pieces and see what you like. So on the slide there, on the bottom picture, the left is what we had to work off and the right is our finished product. So I graduated from the Bachelor of Biotechnology in 2018, and I just took the first job that I could find. So I took a job that was in quality control in a chemistry lab for a pharmaceutical company. And it found it very repetitive, and I wasn't passionate about the work I was doing. I had barely done any chemistry except for my first year of study. And I found that I also wasn't qualified for other positions that I wanted. I found a real interest in becoming a research assistant in genetic research, but because I hadn't done any honors project, I was not eligible for those positions. So that's when I decided to come back to UTS to pursue my master's degree. And this would provide the experience I need to get into a research career. And it could also be a potential pathway for PhD. And what really appealed to me about doing this degree was the mix of coursework and research components. And I also knew that UTS has a high quality of teaching, as I did my undergraduate there as well. So during this first semester of my master's degree, I did an internship with a startup through UTS Startups. It's called MetaFact, and it aims to connect people with trusted evidence on questions that impact life, society, and the world around them. So what they do is they source and aggregate questions direct from they source and aggregate answers direct from thousands of independent researchers and experts to help people make evidence-based decisions. So my role in this was I did a lot of search engine optimization. So looking at what myths people are Googling to see what kind of questions we could answer and contact our researchers about. So I was able to work directly with the founder of this company, as it was a very early stage startup at that point. And I saw the day-to-day runnings of a science communications startup, which was really interesting to see. So this was run out of Fishburners, which is a startup hub in Wynyard and a co-working space. So there is a whole range of different startup companies under the same roof. And through this, I was able to soak up the startup environment and talk to other founders about their experiences. So currently, I am part of the UTS team for 2021 in the Australian Synthetic Biology Challenge, and I'm representing UTS on the national scale. So the point of this challenge is to develop and progress an original synthetic biology project designed to be innovative and scientifically feasible. So this also involves not only the science part of it, but we attend workshops around commercialization, intellectual property, and also about pitching to investors. So we are a team of 8 students, a mix of masters and undergrad, and we aim to improve the production of high-value chemical compounds known as terpenes in the photosynthetic organisms cyanobacteria. So these chemical compounds are used for pharmaceuticals, they're used in food ingredients, skincare, perfumes. They have a whole range of applications. And the way that we're trying to improve this production is we're trying to engineer these protein nanocompartments, like the one you see on the slide. It looks like a little ball. And we're trying to make the reactions within the cell more efficient by using this nanocompartment to capture different parts of chemical reactions. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've had to pivot, so we haven't been in the lab as of yet, and I'm not sure if we will, but there's plenty that we could still do. We've already done a lot of work on bioinformatics, so looking at different gene sequences and protein sequences to see how we can utilize them in different organisms. We've been looking at designing genes and designing plasmids so that we can put that into E. coli to produce these nanocages. And we're also looking at an element of biodesign, which will help us to consider how our project has potential impacts on the environment, society, and also if there's any ethical issues surrounding this project. So what am I up to next? Or what am I doing right now? I am currently doing a year-long research project, which is equivalent to an honours year. It's part of the Masters of Philosophy in Medical Biotechnology, and the philosophy part of that basically just means that it's part coursework, which I've just completed, and part research, which I'm starting right now. So I found my supervisor through the Synthetic Biology Challenge, and I am working in the field of nanomedicine and looking at protein nanocompartments. So I want to know how the immune system responds to these compartments. Well, they're known as encapsulants. And these can be used as vaccines, drug delivery systems. And it looks like a little ball, as you can see on the slide there. There's 2 different ones. And what they do is they load different molecules inside of them, like cargo. And so this work will also include some bioinformatics, so looking at how we can model these protein compartments to visualize their structures, as it's a very newly discovered class of protein nanocompartments, and there hasn't been a lot of work done on them. So lastly, I just wanted to talk about my top tips of surviving and thriving at university. So my number 1 is definitely stay organized. This has been huge for me. Scheduling is a massive help with keeping on top of assignments, scheduling in your classes, especially working remote. It can be very easy to say, oh, it's recorded, I'll watch it later. But if you actually do that too often, things will start to back up and build up, and you don't want that. So attend the lectures live and you won't have that problem. Another important tip is learning to reference early on. So referencing is key to any piece of scientific writing, and you will need to learn how to do it well and consistently for pretty much anything you write in science. So there is software that you can get on your computer. There's EndNote, which I use, and Mendeley. And all of this information is on the UTS library website. And they also have a lot of resources about how to do a literature search, which has been critical for me. Another thing is there's no such thing as a stupid question, which no matter how much people say it, it is definitely true. So being engaged with your professors, your classmates, just talking to people and asking questions is really helpful in university. And lastly, just have fun. There will be no other time like your university years. And so I would encourage everyone to join a club or society. I'm part of the UTS Literary Society, and we have a book club, which is really, really fun. And so if you have a hobby or a passion that you enjoy or just want to make some friends, hop onto the Activate website and there's plenty of clubs you can join. So now I will answer some questions. Just a reminder, pop them in the Q&A box and upvote any ones that you would like me to answer. So the first question I have here, what are some further study and career pathways that this course provides? So as I mentioned earlier, it is definitely a pathway to a PhD program. So that is one major option. Other career pathways are definitely in things such as like medical device companies, biotechnology companies, research and development. You can even take the route of going into patent examinations, so looking at IP, intellectual property. They're doing government policy and regulation. There are a huge amount of options. The next question is, as someone who took general maths in high school, do you find studying science challenging at times because of the maths that is required? That's a great question. So I did general maths, and I found once I got to university, I was a little freaked out by the chemistry to begin with. But there are so many resources at UTS that can help you with that. They have a Maths and Science Study Center where you can go and get help with any of your coursework that you're struggling with, just to ask questions. There's also programs such as peer-assisted learning. And so they have people who have done the subject previously who run tutoring sessions as a group, and they help you answer any problems you might have. And so that's really what saved me in my first year, is attending these kind of services. The next question is, what career options are there for biotechnology? Is it hard to find a job? So biotechnology is such a broad field. It covers so many areas. A lot of it is genetic engineering. You can go into microbial engineering. You can go into the computer side, so bioinformatics and data analysis. You can go into vaccine development, quality control, quality assurance, different pharmaceutical companies. So there are a wide range of different career options out there. And is it hard to find a job? I guess during this COVID time, it's hard to find any job, but it's definitely an emerging field, and there are plenty of new biotechnology companies popping up each year. So there's definitely room for growth in the industry there. The next question is, would medical biotechnology be a good area of study for someone interested in pursuing a career in pharmacy? So in terms of that, if you're talking about pharmaceuticals and looking at new drug discovery, medical sales of pharmaceuticals, quality control or quality assurance in pharmaceuticals, then yes, definitely. But if you're talking about, say, hospital pharmacy or dispensing, I would say probably not. I would say probably look at the pharmacy degree, as there will be subjects that are more relevant to that. But in terms of the pharmaceutical industry, working in industry, definitely. So the next question I have is, how much of your degree is in the labs versus online this year? Does it affect how much you learn? So fortunately, during the autumn semester earlier this year, we had a mix of online and in-person, because the master's degrees tend to be a lot smaller cohorts than an undergraduate degree. And so I think we had maybe 30 people in our lab classes that could be split into 2 time slots. And so there were only 15 people in the labs on campus at a time, which was easy for us to social distance and put masks. But that would be a lot harder, of course, if there were a bigger class. So I found learning online, so I had a lot of lectures online, and I found that it wasn't really any different to in person. I found it, yeah, I really enjoyed it because you could go back and watch it online if you missed it. And yeah, I guess just being open to communicating via email is really important as well. So I quite enjoyed doing online stuff. There's another question about, are there any applications of what you study in medical biotechnology to viruses like COVID? Yes, definitely. So you could pick to do virology during your degree, which is a subject at UTS. And I did a subject called Biotechnology Solutions to Infectious Disease, and that was last year. So we looked at a lot of COVID examples. So yes, there's a lot of opportunity to go into vaccine development for viruses. And that's a huge field at the moment, obviously. So the next one I have is, when doing assignments at uni, is it more practical or more exam-like? So for my master's, I haven't had any exams. That's a thing that UTS is kind of, I think they don't really focus on exams a lot. So my master's, I haven't had any final exams, which is nice. In terms of practical, yes. So doing assignments, it's all based on real world research that is going on at UTS at the time, or research that's being done elsewhere. And so that gives you a really good idea of what it's like to design an experiment, perform an experiment, and then write up a report. And so that gives you a lot of experience writing reports, because that's something that you'll have to do as a scientist. I really like biology, but am not top of my class. Is the science a lot harder at uni? Do you need to get great marks to enjoy this study side? So this is a tough one, but I think that if you really enjoy science, it's worth pursuing. Even if you may not get top of the class. I know I've always been a pretty average student at school, but that didn't stop me from pursuing science, because I am really passionate about trying to find treatments to diseases that have previously been incurable. And so if it's a passion of yours, I would say the only way to get better is by practicing and studying. So how do you make friends when studying online so much? Yeah, this is difficult. I won't lie, but I think the best way to make friends when studying online is by joining a club or society at UTS. So there are a range of different clubs and societies, as I said before, and a lot of them are doing online events. So whether that's like trivia nights or game nights or just even Discord calls, it's a really good place to meet people. The next question is, would you describe biotechnology as a niche or broad area of science? Definitely broad, for sure. Biotechnology is this huge umbrella term that covers everything from the environment to medical. And within, say, medical, there's another bunch of different niches, you would say. And I think as you go on with your studies, you find what you like and you narrow down as you go. Like, I knew that I liked molecular biology, and so I went towards that kind of direction. And then I found out about these protein compartments, and so then I kind of pivoted again. But there are definitely a lot of knowledge that can transfer very easily. Did you have to do UCAT to do medical biotechnology? I'm not really sure what UCAT is, but I didn't have to do any exams to get into the master's. All I had to do was have a credit GPA and write a statement as to why I wanted to do it. And I got entrance. The only test that you have to do is like a English competency test, but other than that, there's no exams for entry. It's all based on your undergraduate marks. And I think I'll take this last question here. This will be the last one. Do you feel like you were at a disadvantage by only doing biology in high school and studying other sciences at uni? A little bit, but I didn't feel too stressed out about it, I guess. In my first year, I took chemistry, first year of university, sorry. I took chemistry, biology subjects, and physics, which is very daunting, but I just worked really hard to catch up. That means going to UPass sessions, peer-assisted study sessions, going to the Maths and Science Help Centre, asking questions when I wasn't sure, starting a study group with my friends so we could all help each other. And so I didn't feel disadvantaged at all, really. I just worked as hard as I could to catch up. So thank you everyone for joining us today. This talk will be recorded and will be available on the Science Week website, on UTS's website. Make sure you check out the page for the future students and for all your course information, and to register for Open Day on the 28th and 31st of August. Thank you very much, everyone.